I think in the first weeks, I dealt with it actually maybe too well. You know, sometimes I've had to cancel concerts myself because I've been sick. So I'm used to suddenly having a concert that I couldn't do. What was different in this situation was it was so many in a row, and it was totally out of our control. I didn't dwell too much on, oh, I really want to be doing this concert and I feel terrible about it. That came much later. I think that came with the realization that we're not going to be able to start till September, or they're giving us a date of September, but that in all reality that could be quite a lot further. That made me feel a little bit quite concerned, actually. Everything was immediately cancelled. The phone calls were very difficult, I think, for the people that had to make them. And right now the big issue is the singing. How much suddenly something that seems to be a perfectly normal activity is suddenly seen as one of the most dangerous things you could do right now to sing in terms of spreading the virus. It did sink in at a certain point, and then I called my parents in New Zealand, and you're like, well, what do I do? Do I take another job? Do I? Because you could bury your head in the sand and say, well, we'll just plan things, and when it all opens again, we go back to a new normal. But I think when it starts back, it's not going to be able to be in the same way. Manage participants. Oh, look. Hello. Help. Person is waiting. Admit. Hello? Are you there?
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Ruth.
Ian here.
How are you? I know colleagues who are both self-employed musicians who neither are earning anything right now, and they have to share the financial package from the government. So you can worry about when am I going to do concerts again, but for some people it's a much more immediate problem of how do I pay my mortgage. And I think that worry that you don't know how you're going to pay your bills, it's huge stress. People say, oh, you should have a buffer as a self-employed person, but the reality is that musicians have been for a long time getting by on what they can. We have to keep our voice or our instrument in shape, and that's the difficulty for me too, is I realise that I always practiced or had concerts was also keeping your voice in shape. So now it's like, without having your sport to keep the muscles going, you've got to actually go to the sports school or whatever. You've got to do something which is a little, yeah, it's like a bit like going back to the conservatorium again. What am I going to practice? Always when I practice, it was with a reason to learn some music for an upcoming concert. So if all those concerts are cancelled, what do you practice? What is it I'd like to explore in music, and not just what concert did I have? How do I solve a problem like Corona? How do you catch a cloud and pin it down? I've seen a lot of people are doing things online where one person performs with another and you make a nice video. But it's actually being in the same room together and responding. That's all what our work is about. It's so deeply rooted in myself that to not be able to meet with colleagues and perform and present and to have a public there, that's really, it's confronting to think that that won't be able to happen for a long time. Yeah. What I think is really good is to focus on what we can do. And that's why it's really great that the Bach Vereniging has teamed up with other choral organisations, and that we're really looking at what could we do to see that we can sing together safely. We cannot know exactly what the form will hold, but I think we can be quite positive in thinking that there's certain things that are not going to change. people's desire to hear music, people's desire to make music, to be connected with each other through music, that's not going to change. And how we end up doing that is difficult to see. Really, the first time we're going to be able to perform together, it's going to be very special to see the public, to feel everything around. Yeah.